Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mikey. You guys are rocking with me on Mikey's Intellectual Corner. On today's episode, we're diving back into our Alexander the Great series. This is Alexander Part 3, and without further ado, we're just going to dive right back into it. Let's roll.
In 334 BC, Alexander, 21-year-old ruler of the small Greek kingdom of Macedonia, led an invasion of the vast Persian Empire. It seemed impossible odds. But thanks to Greek military dominance and Alexander's fearless leadership, he won two great battles against the Persians, at the river Granicus and at Issus.
And at Issus, he also beat the actual Persian king himself, and took the Persian king's wife, children, and mother all captive. But she treated very well.
Having subdued Persian lands west of the Euphrates River, he now headed east into the empire's heartlands, seeking a final showdown with the Persian king, Darius III. Receiving news that a great Persian army led by Darius had assembled at Gaugamela, near modern Mosul in Iraq, he made straight for it. This was Darius's last chance to stop Alexander, and Alexander's chance to smash Persian power once and for all. Darius had chosen to fight on open ground, where his advantage in numbers would be more telling. His soldiers had also worked hard to clear and flatten the terrain, to make it suitable for Persian war chariots. By modern estimates, the Persian army was between 50 and 80,000 strong, and made up of contingents from across the empire. Infantry from Syria and Babylonia, cavalry from Armenia, India, and Central Asia, up to 200 scythed chariots, even a handful of war elephants. Alexander's army was smaller, and may have been outnumbered by as much as 2 to 1.
The real question is, how well will all these different troops from different parts of the land work together? Because obviously they can't really, you know what I'm saying, unless they know each other's languages or stuff like that, or they're having, you know, certain things that they're doing, like raising a banner or horn, some stuff like that. They're going to probably have trouble, you know, fighting cohesively if they're having to do it in different languages. But let's see how.
By as much as 2 to 1. He deployed his units in their usual formation. On the left flank, Thracian and Thessalian cavalry, commanded by Parmenion. In the center, the Macedonian veterans of the phalanx, each armed with their 18-foot sarissa pike. On the right flank, Alexander with his elite cavalry, the Companions, and his best infantry, the Hypaspists. These were the units with which Alexander planned to launch his main attack.
And don't forget the troops right behind the main phalanx that always protect their rear guard, essentially.
Were the units with which Alexander planned to launch his main attack.
Yeah, the hoplites.
Greek hoplites formed a second line and supported both wings, which were angled back to guard against encirclement by the Persians. The battle began when Alexander led his wing out to the right, a move that took the Persians by surprise. Could Alexander really be trying to encircle their huge army? The Persians mirrored his movement, taking troops away from their center to outflank Alexander and prevent him leaving the area they'd cleared for the Persian chariots. But Alexander's unusual maneuver was a trap to entice the Persians to weaken their centre. When he saw that it had worked, he ordered his Greek cavalry to charge, to keep the Persians fixed in position. A giant cavalry battle developed on the right wing. Darius, meanwhile, judging this to be the decisive moment, unleashed his chariots. But expert Agrianes javelin throwers took out horses and crews, while the Greek infantry opened lanes, allowing the chariots to...
Damn, such a huge freaking weakness, you know what I'm saying, just for that to happen. I think that's the same weakness for the War of Elephants, if I'm not mistaken, just to essentially open up your ranks, open up your, so that you're not so tightly packed in, and then just start javelin throwing at him, because he's going to have to stomp all over the place, like, you know, trying to stomp out ants and stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Lanes, allowing the chariots to pass harmlessly through. Alexander led his companion cavalry and parts of the Macedonian phalanx in a headlong charge straight at the weakened Persian centre, fighting his way towards Darius himself. The sudden ferocity of Alexander's assault threw the Persians into panic. The centre of the army...
Hey, come on, y'all. Damn, y'all have the numbers. What are y'all doing? That's how you know that's a lack of leadership right there. They essentially don't know what the hell to do. Because you have more men, like...
broke and ran. King Darius himself leading the rout. But Alexander's left wing was in serious trouble. Parmenion, facing a huge onslaught by Persian cavalry, was virtually surrounded. Indian and Scythian horsemen had even ridden through a gap in the Greek line. But rather than wheeling and attacking the Greeks from behind, they'd carried straight on to loot their camp. Parmenion sent a desperate appeal to Alexander for help. The king abandoned his pursuit of Darius, regrouped, and charged the Persian right wing. Hardest and bloodiest fighting of the battle, claiming the lives of 60 of Alexander's companions.
Yeah, still, only 60 is not that bad, because I'm pretty sure he has like at least like a few hundred men in that, to maybe even 1,000 men in that freaking formation, so just for only 60 to have died in that huge skirmish is pretty, you know what I'm saying, pretty telling as to why they're so feared and stuff like that.
Finally, as news of Darius's flight spread across the battlefield, the last Persian horseman turned and fled. The Battle of Gaugamela was a stunning and complete victory for Alexander. According to ancient sources, he lost just a few hundred men, while the Persians lost thousands.
But he didn't take any capture, so they're still, you know what I'm saying, live to fight another day, so let's see.
Alexander had routed Darius's great army. And now the road to Babylon, the empire's main capital, lay open. The Macedonian king entered the great city in triumph, recognized by Persian officials as its new rightful ruler. So too at the city of Susa, where Alexander ceremonially took his seat upon the royal throne of Persia. In the Zagros Mountains, at a pass known as the Persian Gates, a courageous Persian force held up Alexander's army for a month. The Greeks eventually found a mountain path that bypassed their position, allowing them to encircle and wipe out the defenders. In early 330 BC, Alexander reached Persepolis, the empire's ceremonial capital. Alexander wanted to appear as a liberator to the Persians, as a legitimate successor to King Darius. But now he ordered Persepolis.
But I'll say you gotta get some type of payback for that. You know what I'm saying? You can't just let that go so easily. You know what I'm saying?
But now he ordered Persepolis to be pillaged and burnt. Retribution for the Persian invasion of Greece and the burning of Athens' sacred temples in 480 BC. Alexander now headed north into Media, where Darius had taken refuge in the royal city of Ecbatana. Alexander was determined to capture Darius, but the fugitive king fled east in the hope of raising a new army in the provinces of Parthia, Bactria, and Sogdia. It was not to be. As Alexander closed in, the Persian king was murdered by one of his own governors, Bessus, who then proclaimed himself the empire's new ruler. Alexander gave orders for Darius to be buried in the royal tombs of Persepolis, alongside his ancestors.
At least it's very commendable whenever at least these old monarchs and stuff, you know, essentially honor each other, because obviously he didn't have to do that. He could have, you know, beheaded the corpse and, you know, paraded the head across the empire to let them know like this was what's going on, but you know he didn't. And in fact, it's pretty crazy to see how much respect he's actually showing the Persian royal family. To be honest with you, it's kind of crazy.
Alexander gave orders for Darius to be buried in the royal tombs of Persepolis, alongside his ancestors. Then he paused to organize his vast new empire. Alexander appointed viceroys to rule the provinces on his behalf, keeping several Persians who had sworn loyalty in their posts. Then he resumed his march east, his goal to find and kill the usurper Bessus, subjugate the empire's eastern provinces, and reach the far edge of the world.
Which is crazy too, because China's over there doing its own thing, freaking going crazy, you know what I'm saying? And obviously, so is Japan. So it's just crazy to think that, you know what I'm saying, back then, this is what they saw as the edge of the world. But in reality, there's a whole another civilization over there just going insane. Alright guys, go ahead. Thank you again for joining me in another episode of Mike's Intellectual Corner. If you guys liked the episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in another one. I'm out.